Well played, sir. Well played. And to you. Enjoy the rest of your panel, ladies and gentlemen. Jared Padalecki.
I saw some Luke Steiner shirts out there, and I met some Gilmore fans. The original Dean, I should say. And then they told me about this guy, bow-legged guy on Smallville show. And he and I were both in the Warner Brothers family. They're like, we think y'all would make a good pairing. And so they said, we have this show, it's called Supernatural. At the time, I think it was like Buffy and Charmed and Angel on the network in the States at least. And I was like, I'm a fan of those shows. But I was like, you know what? I want to do something more serious. Like, no. This is more X-Files than Charmed, than Buffy.
This was WB though. This wasn't even CW.
Yeah, WB. So I was like, okay, cool. I'd love to read the script. I read the script and thought, holy shit, this is badass. Like, this is so what I'm into. Like the Luke Skywalker, the Harry Potter, that classic like Joseph Campbell mythology, and the archetypes. So I was like, okay, cool. I'd love to try out for it. Cool, next Tuesday at noon, or whatever it was. So go in, and for those who aren't actors out there, back in 2005, the way it worked to audition for a TV show was you'd go in, and there would be a dozen guys or gals that looked roughly like you did. You know, there'd be a dozen 22-year-old white dudes, like in a room, and we'd just sit there twiddling our thumbs, and be like, okay, Mark and John. Okay, now Bill and Frank. Now Mark and Frank. Like they do, they call it chemistry reads to see who gets along. And so I was expecting 20 people, 10 for Sam, 10 for Dean. And I get there, and it's me and it's Jensen. Like, hey. And I'm like, who are you trying out for? I'm like, Dean. Like, Sam. I'm like, cool. Where are you from? Texas. Where are you from? Texas. You have any siblings? Yeah. Older brother, younger sister. You? Older brother, younger sister. Okay, cool. Who's your football team? Who's your throw ball team? Cowboys. Who's yours? Cowboys. I was like, oh, this is gonna work nicely. So they brought us in and had us read in front of. It wasn't a room this big, but it was kind of like stadium style, with all the 20 heads of the network and the studio. And they come in, we read the scene, and it's the whole, when I maybe add humor, I forget the notes. Like, sure. So they go in, like, okay, what do you want to do? Like, let's just do it. We know the lines, let's do it. And so we went back in, did it, and they were like, great, thank you, please go wait back in the green room, and we'll talk and bring you back in. We're like, no problem. We went back to the green room, we're like, I think that went well too, man. Like it felt good. Like I think we did it. I was feeling it. And so they come in and like, okay, come on back. Like, okay, great. And so we go on back, and then we get in. Everybody stands up in the room and says, "Congratulations, you got a TV show." It was Peter Roth, who was the head of Warner Brothers. And so Jensen and I kind of looked at each other like, "All right, I guess we're doing this." And that was my introduction to Supernatural.
Yeah, and that's it.
No, we didn't have Kim yet. Yeah, we have David Nutter do the pilot.
He's brilliant. He's just something special.
Amazing.
Did you have the same kind of experience?
Yeah.
Mark? Was it?
Oh no, Mike. They'd already been.
I was going to say 20-year-old men that you're up against, and
I had the wonderful fortune of being friends with Kim Manners, and Kim Manners and I would intersect every time I was in Vancouver. I would go into the Gerard bar. And because I don't drink, I don't have a big bottle of Pellegrino in there, and he'd come in with whoever was directing the Supernatural episode at the time. So Beasley, everybody else would be coming in, and his mates would be in. And so for years, while I was shooting other shows, I'd be hearing how fantastic this show is, and you have to come do it sometime. And so for years, I loved that man. That man, he was the gruffest bastard I ever worked with. I did Mantis with him. He screamed in the room, and I was supposed to do one episode. 8 years later.
Well, fucking 20 years later, essentially now, as we sit here, you remember how hot it was in that goddamn room?
Oh God, you were sweating because the fire was on.
Sweating. I sweat in the snow. Not a lie. Like I can go into meat locker and just sweat if I move too much. This was in a room that the fireplace going,
mansion,
and we're in like wool coats because we had Sam and Dean had come in from outside where it was piss and rain because it was Vancouver, and then had to go do something else. And so they had us in like our winter gear. So I'm wearing Sam Winchester clothes, you know, like thick flannel,
boots, heavy socks.
heavy boots, and socks. And I'm like, I'm miserable. Like, get me out of here. Just like the sweat is dripping off.
But I've never said this. It was like, I had pages. It was the whole, how about you don't miss morons scene. It was that whole scene. So I had pages of this stuff. And the two of them just looked at me and going like, we just want you to be good in this. You're so supportive. You're like, this character's great, the scene's really
You're the
great.
gun, you're the
and I had the
prop, you're the
gun and the
prop guard,
props
yeah.
and the stuff, and putting the gun at you.
Shows. But they still do it. You know, they'll do either their own YouTube channel, they'll do plays. So just keep on going and working. Just keep on focusing on your craft and being the best you can. Do it in strange situations. Just keep saying yes, you know, unless you're uncomfortable, then don't say yes.
That doesn't work.
Like if you have to smooch Jim Beaver in a scene, you can. I think just keep on being you and keep on learning and growing. It took me, I haven't been around as long as this guy, but it took me 24 years. Around my 24 years in the industry, it took me a long time to realize that I'm not working to tell everybody like, hey, I worked a lot. I'm working to keep growing, and to Faith's question earlier about like what you learn in the process. It's all, at the end of the day, it's going to be about you know, many decades from now, when you know you're talking to your kids or your grandkids or great whatever. You're not going to think to yourself like, I wish I was in more TV shows or movies. You're going to think like, I wish I'd spent more time kind of learning with myself and spending time with family and friends. Still work hard and do your best. But don't forget, this is all a growth process.
Thank you so much.
Any questions? We've got somebody else to look at three. Try and get as many of you as we can in.
Hi, I'm Roxy.
No, Jared. Hi, I'm Roxy. Okay, thank you.
My dad used to say something brilliant. He goes, there's two types of jobs in the world. There's the job that you do so that you can do the things that you love.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're incredibly lucky, there's the job that you love.
Yeah.
And if you can make one become the other, you're a very, very lucky person. And in the meantime, keep doing the job that you do so you can do the job.
Great question, Roxy. Thanks, Roxy.
Kind of your high. She was shaking and sweating and panicking, and she was waiting to come and see me. So I was trying to be nice, and I said, it's okay, take a breath. She goes, I'm just trying not to shit myself.
How did you do? Did you succeed?
Trying.
Did you figure out if she succeeded?
I couldn't get that close. It was just so like on the nose. It was like,
On the nose, I see what you did there. So she failed at trying to show herself.
Can you top that, Jared?
I cannot top that. But I will say, and this wasn't strange, or I've had some pretty awesome experiences. I had my first time that I was really like, oh wow. Jen and I got married and went on our honeymoon and went to Bora Bora. And so we were flying from Los Angeles to Tahiti on Air Tahiti Nui. And we boarded, it was a 6-hour flight or something. And this is 2010, so it's still relatively early in the show, you know, 4 or 5 seasons before it kind of caught on, before Netflix, before this and that. And we're on this plane, and the flight attendant is coming and saying hi, and do you need anything, want a glass of sparkling wine, or whatever. We're like, yeah, chatting. And then towards the end, when we're about to descend, he comes over, he's like, by the way, I just got my first ever tattoo a month or 2 ago, and do you want to see it? I was sort of like, it's totally out of context. I mean, sure. So he undoes his Air Tahiti Nui flight attendant thing, and it was the first ever possession tattoo I saw, and it was like flying to our honeymoon, which was nuts. So that sticks out. I've had a few that stick out, but I haven't had any kind of like crazy.
3 days after the end of Demon Dean, you know, when the eyes came on and it all went nuts. You know that whole amazing scene. I was in Australia, and
They're weird.
the girl had tattooed on her calf beautiful, almost a woodcut looking thing with a wolf, and it said, "Let's go take a howl at that moment." 3 days after it aired. I was like, so I called Jeremy and I went, "You better write some really good last lines for next season."
Give me some dialogue.
We love it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a magical thing that it seems like the sum of this is so much bigger.